should do it. All right, got some thanks to throw out right away to Anna for becoming a channel member, and David Gipe, super early support. We'll catch the VOD. Well, thank you, David, all the same. I appreciate that. Hey, Meg. Glad you made it. Hey, Carolyn. Coyote, Ms. Wicked Wolf, Ghost, Moonlight, Old Web Shooter, Hannah, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. You know, as well as is possible, under the circumstances. It's gonna be the way that it is for a while. Well, I hope Louisiana is treating you okay, Jason. Thank you. I picked this up. This was my treat to myself at the Winter Renaissance Fair. So yeah, I'm quite happy with it. Ms. Wicked Wolf, it wasn't eligible. How can you be mad about that? It literally was not eligible. I saw a couple people like say that same thing when I talked about Amelia Perez. The category is best original song. None of the songs in Wicked are original. They're from the stage show. They're not eligible. I might get a chuckle out of that, Coyote Azul, if I knew who Zane Flint was. I mean, you can vent about that, Girl with Tiger. The thing is, like, that's not surprising. It's a sequel. And other than in some technical categories, you don't get sequels getting a ton of nominations. Well, okay, technically it's a prequel, but like you get what I mean. So I'm not super shocked that that happened, but by all means, vent. I still haven't seen it. Still been meaning to. One of the ones that I tried to squeeze in before the end of the year. Oh, yeah, Jason. I heard that the Beatles were up for Grammys. I don't understand how that worked. Did like somebody like master like the last random scrap that was found of their stuff together? Is that what happened? I don't know. I don't know what actually went on with that. I'm doing okay, Knit and Crochet Tiger. Zane Flint is a Borderlands 3 character. Ah, that explains why I don't know who it is. The only Borderlands game I played was 2, which I played a bit of. I did like, but it was on the tail end of my my tolerance for first-person games. So, watched the Android Invasion for the first time a few weeks ago. Thought it really effectively creepy, intriguing, and occasionally really funny. Surprised how hated it is. I don't think I've seen that one yet. Yeah, I haven't seen that one. So I cannot offer an opinion. I've never seen a full entry in the franchise, Ms. Wicked Wolf. I have no thoughts. Remember when musicals would contrive a new song for the Best Original Song Oscar? I mean, remember when? Most of them still do. I was actually slightly surprised they didn't for Wicked. I think instead the plan is to add new songs into part 2. Although I do have to wonder if that's going to make as big a splash. But like, concept-wise, that makes a lot more sense. Like, I still haven't seen Wicked. I intend to, but I still haven't. So the thing that I will grant, as much as I had a lot of skepticism about the first one coming out, I will readily grant that the second act could easily be fleshed out into its own movie. And so, like, adding songs to that makes sense to me. The second act has some good songs, but is the weaker act of the two. So if you're going to mess with one of them, that's the one to mess with. I did not, Robert. I really had no interest. My interest in Star Wars at this point is pretty limited. Basically, right now, it's Andor. I'm looking forward to the second season of Andor, and that's kind of it. Yeah, Reese, I'm not a fan of the two Doctors either. So, yeah, I'm right there with you on that. I like the Grammys this time around, but I'm more frightened of what it will be in the future, however. Not sure what you mean by that. I didn't watch the Grammys. People who I follow who cover that stuff seem to think it was a pretty good night, both in terms of what got awarded and like as a show, which is nice to hear. Because the Grammys, the Grammys, oof. I have a hard time deciding what's the bigger laughing stock, the Grammys or the Golden Globes. It's close sometimes. I have not seen it yet, Moonlight. You'll know when I do, because I'll probably end up reviewing it in the break room of Geeks. Well, yes, Ms. Wicked Wolf, it's the best song in the second act. I haven't seen Boy and His Heron yet. That's another one I need to try and get to. I'm simultaneously trying to get ahead on work, trying to catch up on commissioned reviews, and trying to get to some of the stuff from the last year or two that I missed before it gets even further into the past. And I'm gonna fail at least one of those, probably two. Yeah, I hope they will start looking up too, Meg. I'd have to go with Grouch, Haga. How many songs from Amelia Perez been nominated for Best Original Songs? Yeah, 2. There's 2. There's the I think it's Mi Camino. It's the karaoke song that the wife and the guy she's cheating, well, not cheating, because at that point she believes her husband's dead. It's the one that the wife and the guy who she had been cheating with even when she was married, it's their duet, and El Mal, which is Zoe Saldana's big number, like where she gets all accusatory at all the people at the benefit, which is the best song in the movie. It is a pointless song. Like, as much as they put a lot of work into that song, it means nothing in the scope of the story, because none of it goes anywhere. None of the things brought up come back. The idea that this is even a split between Rita and Amelia doesn't really circle back around. So there's literally no point to it. But Seen Float? Nope, have not seen that one. Interesting, Girl with Tiger. Interesting. Oh, Cadbury cream eggs sound really good right now. I am not gonna lie. If they did a live action Rescuers, do you think they'd do a second one instead of the first one, since more people think that's the best? That's an interesting question, 255. I think it's really going to indicate that they are truly scraping the bottom of the barrel, but then again, they're already planning the Aristocats, so who the heck knows? I don't know. I think, honestly, it might wholly depend on how expensive it is to shoot in Australia. Because if it's cheap, they'll do the second one, and if it's not, they'll do the first one. Tara Staller, thank you very much for the super chat. Hey there, I'm currently listening to Wheel of Time on audiobook. Saw an ad for season 2 of the show, which people I know don't like. Have you read the books or watched season 1 of the show? Have any opinions? I have neither read the books nor watched the show, therefore I have no opinions. Sorry. I got nothing. I mean, like, it's the thing Anachronism Girl is that, like, she has a voice that is an odd fit for a musical. There are ways to work with that kind of voice, especially in pop, because you layer in enough other stuff, or there are ways to complement it. Like, there are ways to complement most types of voice within certain genres. Some will have a natural clash, but there's usually ways around that. And so it's often a matter of getting a decent producer who can figure out how to work with the voice. Not to take any credit away from the singers, but if you have a singer paired with a producer who doesn't know how to make them sound good, you're gonna tell real fast. Will you be watching Daredevil Born Again? I'm gonna give it a shot. Do you think it will be at least half as good as its predecessor? I hope it is. I hope it is at least half as good, because I think only about half of its predecessor is good. I feel like oh yeah, the flavored peeps. Not a fan of that, Meg. Here's the thing with the Daredevil thing, Oscar. I really feel like people have let nostalgia, but they have forgotten how much of it didn't work. Now, the first season's a banger. It's real good. Probably, it competes with Jessica Jones season 1 as the best Marvel Netflix thing. But, like, season 2 is a mess. Like, most of it's a mess. The second half is especially a mess. And season 3 has some decent stuff in it, but not nearly as much as season 1. So I say there's about a season and a half of good stuff in there. So if the new show can be half as good as the Netflix, that, in my mind, makes it about as good as the good stuff in the Netflix show. Don't you think you could sub Southern California for Australia? I mean, for for like dialogue scenes you could, but if you were going to do a live action remake of the second Rescuers, showing off the splendor of Australia would be a big part of the point, which means you either need to go there and film it, or you need to fake it, which is probably going to be almost as expensive as filming it to make it look convincing. I don't think they will, Ms. Wicked Wolf. It flopped. See, that's one I could almost kind of get behind, because I think that is a movie with a lot of unrealized potential. There's good in it. I don't think it is particularly good, but there is definitely good in it. Oh, Coco's very bitter at you not sharing your dinner. She holds a grudge, that one. Should they have kept Kilgrave alive? No, 255, absolutely not. That story was done. They were right to kill that character off. No, absolutely not. That was the correct ending. What do I think about the Buffy reboot? Well, the thing is, we don't know enough about it to know what it is. Like, the fact that they have Sarah Michelle Gellar involved at this point, to me, indicates that this is most likely a continuation, possibly a legacy sequel, not a reboot. It might still be a reboot. I wouldn't think it is, though. I doubt it. But Uh, well, we'll see if it even moves forward because they've been talking about rebooting Buffy for ages. It was going to be revived. It was going to be rebooted. It was going to be an animated series. It was going to be rebooted with a black lead cast, which I actually thought was a good idea. But of course, all the jackasses went freaking crazy over that notion. But well, the thing is, Moonlight, adventure movies like what you're talking about are hard to market at this point. They just kind of are. Um, and especially when it's just atypical of what Disney usually does. Do you think they try to get Australia to give them a tax break in exchange for showing off the country's landmark? Well, that's what I'm saying. If those kinds of deals are available, they'd probably do it. But if they aren't, they probably won't. And as a rule, those things are not worked out on a film by film basis. That's either something that a country or state is doing or isn't. And it's constantly shifting. It's why every few years it changes where like half of everything gets shot. You know, half of everything shot in Vancouver. A few years later, half of everything shot in Louisiana. A few years later, half of everything shot in Bulgaria. Like it's in constant flux. You shut your mouth, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Treasure Planet is perfect. Don't you touch it. Well, yeah, Girl with Tiger. He's literally gotten no work for going on 4 years now. So, yeah, he was never going to be involved. And he doesn't have to be because he never owned the rights to Buffy. Fox owned the rights. So, when a reboot was being talked about, that was always being talked about without his involvement. It's just it was because they, the rights owners wanted to do their own thing with it, and now it's nobody wants to touch him. So iCritic, thank you very much for the super chat. It was not Meg. I think it's up for makeup and a couple of other things. Did we discuss if Amelia Perez is still winning Best Picture? No, that has not actually come up. So it might still. I think at this point, there is pretty much no chance that Carla Sofia Gascon gets Best Actress. Actually, the For Your Consideration campaign that is being pushed right now for the movie isn't even mentioning her. Like, it's pushing on picture, it's pushing on director. Screw that guy too, for the record, but it's pushing on picture, pushing on director, pushing on supporting actress for Zoe Saldana. But it didn't even mention Gascon at all. Honestly, I'm not going to predict that this will happen, but I would not be shocked if she doesn't go. Not because, like, they don't invite her or something, but because, like, she knows it'll be hostile for her to go there. So, Best Picture, it might still. It's actually a really I read something earlier today. I'm not necessarily saying I think it's correct in its prediction, but it is an interesting observation, which is that it is a controversy-riddled year for various reasons. With a lot of the front runners, like Amelia Gascon has multitudes of incredibly valid criticism about its depictions of Mexico and of trans people. And then all the stuff going on with the star right now. Again, honestly, the director should be getting not literally the same criticism because, like, Gascon's being criticized for her tweets, her thoughts, and rightfully so. But, like, Jacques Audiard is... that man deserves a lot of criticism, and he's not getting it, which ticks me off. But anyways, that's got a lot of controversy around it. Brutalist has some AI controversy going on with it. Apparently, Anora didn't have intimacy coordinators on set, so that's a point of controversy because that's something that's had a big push in the last few years. So I actually saw someplace that said the conclave might win by default just for being the uncontroversial choice. I don't know if that'll happen, but I'm way less certain about Emilia Perez winning Best Picture than I was when I shot that video, certainly. And Gascon is totally out of the question. That is not happening. Let's see. What is the worst film to win Best Picture at the Oscars? Probably Crash. I haven't actually seen that movie, but like probably Crash. Do you like BioShock? And how do you feel about Netflix making an adaptation soon? I never played the original BioShock. I played BioShock Infinite. Liked it. But I never did play the original. Like, it's neat. It's a neat game. I don't... My main question with that is whether or not they're going to try and preserve the twist. And I'm asking that because I think they shouldn't. I think they should let that go. And, like, use the setting, use some of the characters, but I think they should honestly... it might be in their interest to not have a character in the show that is the equivalent to the player character in the game. I think that would actually hinder their storytelling, and I think the nature of the twist plays so much off of the inherent interactivity of a game that trying to preserve it would be a mistake. But other than that, like, we'll see how much money they throw at that, because, boy, that's an expensive world to recreate. Been watching a lot of isekai lately. I had the thought maybe it'd be better for the fantasy genre if Lord of the Rings never existed, since its tropes are emulated. I mean, if it wasn't Lord of the Rings, it was going to be something else. I mean, it's not like if you take away the major trope creator that suddenly we wouldn't have all these tropes. Something else still would have been the major trope creator. We just maybe would have different tropes. Like, that's... Did any one of the voters send in their ballots yet? Some of them might have, but the voting for the Oscars doesn't close for another 2 weeks. Coyote Azul, thank you very much for the super chat. Pizza, favorite style and or toppings. Fairly frequently, actually, if I order a pizza, I'm ordering Hawaiian. If it's not that, I'm getting a margarita. Those are kind of my go-tos. Unlikely, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Actually, I guarantee you no. The game Atomic Heart has the same problems as BioShock, only in the theme of Soviet utopia. Yeah, I heard about that one, Coyote Azul. I didn't play it. It would have made me motion sick immediately. Because, like, at this point, trying to play first-person games is... Whoo! Ha! Ben, I played a little bit of Arkham Asylum. Unfortunately, my motion sickness was starting to really get to me by then. And the amount of swinging around I was having to do with the camera, like crawling through vents and stuff, that one hit me bad. So, no, I didn't get very far in that. No, Ms. Wicked Wolf, but I am familiar with it. Do you think we'll ever see an animated film in Best Picture ever again? Oh, sure. It won't win, but yeah, sure. It'll happen intermittently. The Hawaiian in my hometown is a white pizza. It also has garlic and seasoned ricotta on it. Oh, that's good. San Remo Pizza in Queens. I would get from them a white pizza with garlic, onion, broccoli, tomato, and on their white pizza, they would have, these almost like these little puns of ricotta in it. It was so good. Oh my God, it was so good. There aren't a lot of things that I miss about living in New York. I miss that pizza. I miss that pizza. Oh. Last one I checked out is a Power Ranger getting teleported into a fantasy world. Oh. Sure, that's fun if that's your jam. I just rewatched your Chibnall episode ranking, and I was surprised how high day one was in comparison to the lower ones. What made the episode better on rewatch? It wasn't that too many things made it better on a rewatch, Mr. Zaki Boy. It was that a lot of the stuff that was really bad in the start, I actually misattributed which episode that it is. A lot of the stuff that I really hated about the start of Torchwood, I thought was in day one, but was actually in the next episode, the one with the sex gas. So it's not that day one got better on a rewatch. It was that I realized I'd misattributed what episode some of the bad stuff was in. So that's what the issue was. So it didn't get better so much as me realizing I was hating the wrong episode for some things. I hope Demi Moore wins Best Actress. Oh, I'd say she's basically a lock now. I would have put money on Gascon winning before, but not a chance now. Demi Moore is almost definitely going to win now. Kitchen sink pizzas. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Mr. Zaki Boy, you go sit in the corner. I will not have you regurgitating this pineapple on pizza propaganda. Pineapple on pizza is delightful. Chicago style thin crust. My style. Wait a minute. What even is that? I thought Chicago was the deep dish. What the hell is Chicago style thin crust? What does that mean? That, like, in my brain and what I understand Chicago-style pizza to be, that makes no sense. I'm very confused. Dharma! Re-upping membership, 38 months. Thank you very much. And, ooh, Rhapsody in Blue. I second pineapple on pizza being amazing. Thank you. Now, like, look, it does have to be paired with the right stuff. Like, you don't just throw it on the pizza, but, like, you pair it with the right things. That's why there's Canadian bacon on it, too. It works. It's weird because the other characters keep pointing out how weird the superhero tropes are, even though they live in a fantasy world full of those tropes. Yeah, it sounds like somebody maybe didn't think through that one too well. Beauty and the Beast will always be my champ. Yeah, fair. Why do villains hire the most incompetent henchmen? Because it makes for comedy. Like, that's the general reason. Will politics ever be allowed again? Maybe on a night where I'm coming in intending to drink black cover. Until then, I would rather this be my escape from politics than be a place where I am forced to confront it, because I have to confront it enough off stream. Should there be an adaptation of Beauty and the Beast that incorporates stuff at the end of the novel, filling in the audience on what's really been happening? I don't know specifically what you're referring to, Moonlight, but my gut instinct is no. Chicago has two major styles, deep dish and thin and crispy, which is usually the choice for locals. See, I'm familiar with thin crust. I'd never heard it attributed to Chicago before. Are you sure that's not Stolen Valor? Are you sure that's a Chicago thing specifically? Because I'm not sure it is. The deep dish is. You guys can have that. That's yours. I feel like you got Stolen Valor on the thin crust, though. What did you think of that dumb tweet? Which one, Madman? Like, that's practically every tweet. Say what you want about The Greatest Showman, but there's a reason why those songs are iconic. No song in Amelia Perez has become truly iconic. Well, I mean, the sex change clinic song has become very memed. Vaginoplasty. God. Oh. Another song that literally has no reason to be in there. Like, if you didn't see my video, that whole thing makes no sense to be in there narratively. Because that's not even where Amelia gets her surgeries. None of those characters come back. It's just there to make a literal spectacle out of trans bodies and the idea of transition. Oh, fuck that movie. What if politics were not actually depressing? You got jokes. Nice. Maybe one day meet here under better circumstances. Oh, yes, please. I watched one of this year's Oscar nominees for documentary shown on BBC4 tonight, Black Box Diaries. I never really pay attention to the documentaries. Oh, Alexandra, you missed it earlier. I got this at the Winter Renaissance Festival in Essex, Vermont. This was my one indulgence. Yes, thank you, Carwin. I do need to get to the Discord, and we do have a hard stop at 8. I've got stuff going on tonight. I think Chicago thin crust and New York thin crust are different. I don't think Chicago thin crust is bendy or foldable. I'd sort that out amongst yourselves. I haven't seen Severance, FNAF. I don't have Apple TV. That is Apple, right? I think it's Apple. Anyways, I gotta hop over to the Discord, answer the questions that I've got there. I will be back as soon as I'm done with those. Thoughts on the Buffy remake? Already kind of did those. I think we can move on from that. I need to hear more about what the actual plan is. Like, is it a continuation? Is it a reboot? What is it? I'll have more of an opinion when we know more. How can I persuade you to make these live streams an hour earlier? I don't think you can. This is largely built around what seems to work for a decent amount of people, and also my own life. Any direction I move it is gonna be better for some people and worse for others. I can't win. No third question. Have a sip of water. Oh, all right. Well, don't mind if I do. That's good water. Whew. What are some of your hopefuls for the Oscars this year? I have seen almost nothing that's actually up for stuff other than Amelia Perez. My only hope is that Amelia Perez wins nothing. That is my hope. That it wins nothing. How do you feel about the aesthetic of Yesterday's Tomorrow, where there are futuristic elements, but they're retro? I don't know what Yesterday's Tomorrow is. Retro-futurism is it's fine. It's fun. I do think it's been, depending on what your mediums are, I kind of mentioned this in the reaction to the Fantastic Four video, which will be going up on the Patreon page later this evening, but I've already shot. Sorry I can't put it up on YouTube anymore. Trailer reactions have become a nightmare of copyright. But retrofuturism has been a pretty common thing in things like video games and comic books for the better part of 2 decades now. And I feel like at this point you kind of have to do an extra thing with it. At least for me, just being retrofuturist, it's okay. And my example is Fallout. I think part of what made the Fallout TV show work is, yeah, it had retrofuturism, but it also had post-apocalyptic wasteland, and they played off each other in interesting ways. So I feel like it's, at least for me, if you've been in the mediums where it's been a little bit oversaturated, like video games and comic books, then you probably will want it paired with something else and not just on its own. Who has the best villainous monologue? Difficulty, no Doctor Who. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to call this the best villainous monologue ever, but I am going to say I am a huge sucker for devil monologues. I love when higher demons or the devil go off. So some of Jack Nicholson's stuff in Witches of Eastwick, Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate, schlocky movie if you get down to it. But I love it when he goes off, especially on the back end. God, let me give you some inside information about God. It's a whole thing. It's fun. I love stuff like that. If you don't mind sharing, I was wondering how trans women can get breasts without surgery. Hormones. This is the result of estrogen. That having been said, whether or not you will get much breast growth on estrogen or hormones alone is going to depend a fair bit on genetics. If the women in your family line are small-chested, you're probably not going to see a lot. Women in my family, actually both sides, decently chesty. Also, no hips, which is why I didn't end up with any of that. But yeah, just hormones can do it. With Selena Gomez receiving heavy criticism for a Spanish accent and Emilia Perez, do you think it's ever okay for a production to hire actors without an authentic accent? I mean, I think it kind of depends on the nature of the story and who the end product is marketed to. If you are going to try and market it to the audience that has that accent, i.e. people who are going to immediately notice it's wrong, yeah, probably a bad idea. It also would probably help if more things would come up with like a narrative contrivance as to why it's not an authentic accent. Like, hell, even Emilia Perez did that because Zoe Saldana's character, I think it was her note to have her character be originally from the Dominican Republic, because that's the accent she has when she speaks Spanish. And she didn't trust herself to be able to do a Mexican Spanish accent. So I think if you can't, you should probably account for it rather than just plow ahead assuming no one will notice. You know what I mean? Do you view Juno Dawson being announced as a new writer for Doctor Who as a positive or negative for trans representation, given that she said some controversial things in the past, such as saying that gay men or trans women that call themselves gay is a consolation prize? I was not aware she'd ever said that. That is messed up. I don't know. I mean, my bigger concern is the fact that the one piece of Juno Dawson's Doctor Who related work that I read, I didn't like. So I have reasons completely separate from the notion of her as representation. I mean, I will say, I don't think examining, we need a better class of trans person on something like a writing team, I don't think that's a question that merits much conversation. Like, other than the head writer, the writers are not the face of the product. Like, they're just not. Like, if somebody is massively controversial and like, oh, we brought in a writer with a history of really messed up allegations, yeah, maybe don't do that. But short of that, like, I'm not too worried about how well a writer does or doesn't represent the trans community. Having said that, if what you just described to me is accurate to what she said, even if she said it as a joke, which it sounds like the kind of thing somebody would think is a joke, I don't think it's an okay joke to make. It is a joke based on the idea of erasure, which I don't think is a cool thing to do. If it were up to you, what would get Best Picture? I haven't seen any of these things other than Emilia Perez. I don't know. What the hell even is up? I haven't seen any of these. I don't know. I have no idea. Have you seen the Fantastic Four trailer? If so, any thoughts? As I mentioned, I have. A reaction has already been shot. That'll be up on the Patreon later this evening. It's been shot. It's been edited. I'm not going to have it uploading while I'm streaming because I don't have the bandwidth to do both at once. For Doctor Who, do you think there's potential for an episodic serialized mix? It seems to me the TARDIS touring doesn't lend itself to pure serialization. Funny you asked that, Annie. Given that that's kind of an upcoming video topic. The thing is, they've kind of already tried to do that, and it hasn't worked great. And I do agree with you, but I don't want to get too far into that because, like I said, I'm going to have a video on it. Do you have any pieces of Doctor Who extended media you particularly enjoy? Audios, novels, etc. There are some audio stories I really, really, really love. The Holy Terror is still the one that I hold up as, at least for me, the pinnacle of what I've heard from Big Finish, although the first box set of The War Master is extremely good as well. I've never read any of the novels, but the audios can be really good. Do you have any musicals you particularly enjoy and brief thoughts on them? I mean, I'm usually just a sucker for something with really catchy songs. While I will not defend it from most of the criticisms that are very fair to level at it, I like The Greatest Showman. I like Repo the Genetic Opera. I like Sweeney Todd. I like Rocky Horror Picture Show. You know, I don't know. I like things with songs that go hard. I think that's kind of it. When do you think it's appropriate to tell fans they're too invested in a thing? The other day, Steve Shives put out a video about Trek fans who say Trek is all I have. When you call them out on being toxic, and I had the thought that no matter how passionate you are about a fictional work, it shouldn't be the only thing you have to get up in the morning. I mean, the thing is that you can end up in that place one of two ways. You can either end up in that place of like, this fandom is the only thing I care about, by being overly obsessive, which isn't healthy. Or you could end up in that place by bad circumstance. Like, so much stuff is going wrong. It's like, the only thing that is currently giving me joy is this. Now, even if you end up in that place more or less by accident, but like, if you're in that place, yeah, find other things. But like, be careful about how you address that to someone, because you don't know how they got there. Would Amelia Perez winning Best Picture be better or worse than the Academy, even not pretending to be pro-trans rights? In this case, it would be worse, because they would be handing an award to a film that reinforces a lot of the most harmful narratives about trans people. It would be worse. It would be better if they just ignored us. Why don't you think Knobs and Broomsticks remake would do well? I didn't say it wouldn't do well, 255. I said they wouldn't do it. How snarky do I want to get with this? I don't think Disney has the balls to release a movie where the Nazis are the villains right now. So, anyways, I am back. Did we get new super chats? No, we did not. Let's see. What was that water? It was good water. Tabletop, that's what it was. Seriously, though, you could have just taken a classic beloved story or story template and just made it a love story where one of the leads happens to be trans. I mean, yeah. I need to give Hedwig and the Angry Inch another shot. I tried to watch it like 20 years ago and didn't get through it. I should try and watch it again. Dharma! Thank you for the super chat. Pineapple does belong on pizza. Amelia Perez sucks and that necklace is beautiful. Thank you, Dharma. I appreciate that. What do you mean it was not water? Well, it says right there. The flask wouldn't lie. Which new Doctor has the best epic speech so far? Oh, Capaldi. Capaldi has outspeeched everybody. It's like they've all had good speeches. They have. But like it's not even close. For me, yet another massive problem with Amelia Perez is just how freaking disjointed the story is. Nothing flows together whatsoever, and nothing has anything to do with each other. Oh yeah, has these massive time jumps that do the story absolutely no favors whatsoever. Yeah, no, it's a bad movie. It's a poorly constructed movie. It's a poorly made movie made by a deeply incurious man who decided to tell stories set in a place he doesn't know anything about lives he doesn't know anything about, and also believed he didn't have to learn anything about either of those things to tell his freaking story. I like, as infuriated as I am with Gascon, I'm really ticked off at Jacques Audiard. I think the man's a pompous ass. I don't think he should be allowed to direct. The Pup. Thank you very much for the super chat. Good pup. The Oscars might be a bust, but the Grammys are looking good with Chappell Roan making wins. Yeah, I saw some clips from the Grammys, and actually it was nice to see some really vocal support. You know, Chappell Roan on the red carpet, and then Gaga actually during her acceptance specifically shouting out trans people. That was appreciated given how many freaking high profile people have, you know, just been keeping their heads down, which, I mean, I get it, but also don't act like you were an ally. If things get better, don't act like, oh, I was with you all the time. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You put your head down and you hid. So shut up. Supreme Omega. Thank you very much for the super chat. On 80s Deep Dive, I wonder why 80s UK pop culture was more willing to comment on the issues, while 80s US pop culture seems to be mostly pro-materialism, pro-America. Sorry if this sounds too political. I mean, I think the thing was that the UK being a more compact country, I think the impact of Thatcherism on people's lives, the ripples were a lot clearer, and the pushback through pop music a lot more distinct. I mean, part of the problem, especially in the 80s, with trying to do anything political stances, is so much of the bases of our entertainment are in LA or in New York, both of which are places that are usually doing okay. Like, really, regardless of who's in power, they're doing okay. Whereas the UK, it's not essential. Yeah, a lot of stuff happens in London, but the performers and the singers and whatever could come out of almost anywhere. And, you know, making it far more likely that they would be from places much more impacted by what was going on under Thatcherism than, you know, what people in LA or New York were going to say about fucking Reagan. Anyway, that did brush up against politics, so we will move along. I still see Capaldi more as Malcolm Tucker than as the Doctor. Something wrong with me? No, there's nothing wrong with you. That's not where I'm at. He's the Doctor as far as I'm concerned. But I also hadn't really watched, what was it? Because In the Loop was the movie. I forget what the show was called. Because I only saw the movie. I only saw In the Loop. I never saw the show that was a continuation of. Most disturbing thing in Bed Knobs and Broomsticks is the fact that the knife-carrying sidekick of the bookseller is played by beloved entertainer game show host Bruce Forsyth. Ah, I'll take your word for that, Rowan. And they were still on the tail end of the punk movement. Yeah, that too, Coyote. Again, I think the UKC in the thick of it. Thank you. or just the thick of it. Thank you, Coyote. I think the UK just benefits from everybody being crammed much more tightly together, and so you're bumping up against the impacts of these things a hell of a lot more. Whereas in the US, depending on where you live, you might not even realize how bad it's gotten elsewhere. And it's a lot easier to live in that ignorance. I'm not saying that it's impossible to have that degree of ignorance in the UK, but I think it's a little harder given how geographically closer everything is. The thick of it, the thick of it. Everybody coming in and telling me. Thick of it. Yeah. I got it. What was the first computer game that scared me? Are we talking like specifically PC, or are we just talking any video game? Because I don't think I have an answer either way. Like, I'm not drawn to horror games. So I can't think of anyone that like scared me in a meaningful way. There may have been somewhere along the line. I can't think of any. Thank you for the heads up on that, Carolyn. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't think I've ever played anything that constitutes a horror game. I mean, granted, theoretically, you could be scared by something that isn't strictly speaking a horror game, but at the same time, like, I'm just not thinking of anything. Nothing's coming up. Erica, oh my goodness. Thank you very much. That is incredibly generous. Thank you. I had a crap day at work dealing with mansplainers, so I decided something I can do to turn around the day is say hi and donate to a content creator I admire. Thank you, Erica, very, very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Alien Isolation. Wow. I can talk. Alien Isolation is so stressful. Yeah, I've heard that. Again, I can't play it. It's first person. Words are hard. They are! Wording is difficult. Like, I know talking is my job, but, like, it's hard, man. Coyote Azul sneaking in there towards the tail end. Also had a crap day cleaning up hazardous materials. Wow! Sympathy to anyone having a crap day. I'm real sorry. Thank you for the super chat and good grief. Just started playing Loop Hero today from your recommendation of the second channel. Any tips? I'm only a couple hours in. I still don't quite know what I'm doing. I mean, it's been a little too long since I played it for me to come up with tips off the top of my head. I mean, the first thing is just like know when to bail. Like, understand that it's a gradual process, getting better and getting better cards, and you'll find what works for you. It is kind of it is kind of a fail until it makes sense kind of game. Clamp, no, I have yet to see any Robert Eggers movies. I do want to see Nosferatu, but I haven't yet. It left my local theater too soon. Now I'm waiting for streaming. I've listened to the latest Big Finish set, which pairs classic era Doctors with modern era alien races. Fourth Doctor, one has the Lupari, is really good. Oh, that does sound like a fun pairing. I think the first Fugitive Doctor set is finally out. I should try and get that. Oh well. Cleaning up pharmaceutical in the contact lab I work for, if anyone's curious. Analysis went sideways, unfortunately. Oh, good grief. And yes, I was gonna say second, but like third, fourth, or fifth. Killer wins. Hope things are better soon for everyone. I do. I legitimately do. I don't want anyone to be suffering under what is currently going on, and that includes the people who voted for it. I'm not going to absolve them of that choice, but I'm not wishing, financial destruction and destitution onto anyone who isn't rich. I don't want anyone to be suffering. I'm not saying they don't, the pup, but I found that I have already hit my limit for Schadenfreude because, I'll see somebody like clip someone who voted for Trump who's going like, oh, but now this has happened and this is expensive and this and that. And I can't get Schadenfreude out of that because I know they're not the only ones that were impacted by it. And I don't feel like I can laugh at them without feeling like by proxy I'm laughing at everyone who's being hurt by this. And a lot of these people have kids and their kids didn't do anything. So that's just where I'm at. Nope, I never did, Callum. Right, so stuff coming up. I will be streaming on Twitch tomorrow. I'm going to be checking out Strange Horticulture. So gonna try that out on Twitch, see how that goes. If it goes well, I'll still be playing it on Friday. And tomorrow I should have a video out reviewing the last game I streamed on Twitch, Unmetal. That'll be in the break room of Geeks. Saturday's video is going to be heavy, and it is going to be me kind of addressing the current political situation, specifically in regards to trans and queer people. It's going to be heavy. I'm sorry for that. I kind of need to say it so that I know I've said it, so that it doesn't become a thing that weighs down everything else that I do, which I think is what would happen if I don't just say what I need to say. So that's Saturday's video. Sorry that it won't be fun. Goodness gracious. Anyways, thank you very much for joining me. We are going to wrap it up. As I said, I did have a hard stop. So thank you for joining me. It has been wonderful to unwind with you all. Be well, be safe, be kind, and please, please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You're the council. I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!